The night air was heavy with unease, a weight that seemed to settle over the grand palace like a thick, suffocating fog. King Alaric sat upright in his massive gold-inlaid bed, his chest heaving as beads of sweat trickled down his temples. The fire in the hearth had long since died, but it wasn't the cold that had woken him. It was the dream. No, the nightmare that had clawed its way into his mind and refused to let go. He ran a trembling hand through his graying hair, his eyes darting toward the window where the pale light of the moon offered no comfort. The dream had been vivid, almost too vivid. He had stood alone in a barren wasteland, the ground cracked and lifeless beneath his feet. The sky above was dark and swirling, an ominous shade of gray, and from the shadows emerged figures, silent, faceless, and accusing. Their hands pointed at him, their whispers growing louder until they became a deafening roar. "You have failed us." Alaric, a king known for his strength and wisdom, felt powerless. He had built a kingdom that stood tall and proud, yet the dream made him feel as though it all teetered on the edge of ruin. Was it a warning? A prophecy? Or merely the tricks of an anxious mind? He didn't know, but he couldn't shake the feeling that it demanded answers. By morning, the king's mood was somber, his usual commanding presence dulled by the lingering dread. He summoned his most trusted advisors, scholars, and dream interpreters, hoping one of them could decipher the meaning behind the vision that haunted him. One by one, they offered their interpretations, each more ominous than the last. "It is a warning, Your Majesty," said one, his voice trembling. "Your enemies gather in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike." "It is a sign of the gods' displeasure," offered another. "You must perform rituals to appease them." Alaric listened, his frustration mounting. None of their words brought him clarity or peace. The room grew tense as the king's patience wore thin. Just as he was about to dismiss them all, a quiet voice spoke from the back of the chamber. "Your Majesty, if I may," the voice said, calm and unassuming. The room turned to see the speaker, a young man named Elias, the palace scribe. He was unremarkable in appearance, with simple robes and ink-stained fingers, but his eyes held a quiet intelligence that set him apart. He was not a man of power or influence, merely a recorder of history and a keeper of words. Yet there was something in his tone that made the king pause. "You believe you can interpret my dream better than these learned men?" Alaric asked, his voice edged with skepticism. "I do not claim to be wiser than your advisors, sire," Elias replied with a humble bow. "But I believe that sometimes the meaning of a dream is not in the fear it inspires, but in the opportunity it reveals." Intrigued, Alaric gestured for him to speak. Elias stepped forward, his voice steady and thoughtful. "Your dream, Your Majesty, speaks not of failure, but of potential. The barren land represents not the end of your kingdom, but the beginning of a new chapter. The faceless figures are not your enemies. They are your people, waiting for you to guide them. Their whispers of "you have failed us" are not accusations, but a call for you to listen, to understand their needs and fears." The room fell silent as Elias continued. Dreams often reflect our deepest anxieties, but they also hold the seeds of hope. This dream is a reminder that true leadership is not just about strength and power. It is about connection. If you reach out to your people, hear their concerns, and show them that you stand with them, you will turn their whispers of doubt into cries of loyalty. Alaric's expression softened as Elias's words sank in. For the first time since waking from the nightmare, he felt a glimmer of hope. "You believe this dream is not a curse, but a gift?" he asked. "Yes, Your Majesty," Elias said with conviction. "It is an opportunity to grow, to lead with wisdom and compassion. Words have power, and the way you choose to communicate with your people can transform fear into trust, despair into unity." The king sat back in his throne, a thoughtful look on his face. "You speak with wisdom beyond your years, Elias. Perhaps the gods sent this dream not to torment me, but to remind me of what truly matters." Over the days that followed, King Alaric took Elias's advice to heart. He began holding open forums where his subjects could voice their concerns, their joys, and their struggles. He walked among the people, not as a king, but as a man who sought to understand them. He spoke not with authority, but with empathy, choosing his words carefully to inspire hope and solidarity. Slowly but surely, the kingdom began to change. The whispers of discontent faded, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose and pride. Alaric's dream, once a source of fear, became a turning point, a catalyst for transformation. And Elias? The young scribe who had dared to speak up was no longer just a keeper of records. He became the king's closest advisor, a voice of reason and compassion in a world often ruled by fear and ambition. Together they proved that words, when chosen wisely, have the power to heal, to unite, and to change the course of history. In the end, it was not Alaric's crown or his armies that solidified his legacy. It was his ability to listen, to understand, and to lead with the power of words. And so, the king's troubling dream became a story of hope, a lesson for generations to come about the incredible impact of communication and the importance of choosing words that build rather than break.